All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, I'm gonna make a quick video here. Someone actually had a pretty decent comment that took me a while to explain. The comment is talented or talent readout and talent readout and rune Aegis doesn't stack. Why choose both? Right. So, why are we choosing to take the Aegis 5 points in readout when we have Aegis since they don't stack? The answer to this question is a little bit complicated because it has to do with blocking mechanics in classic World of Warcraft. So the best way to think about a boss when he crits you is that crits use a completely different mechanic, and I don't know if crushing blows follow the same mechanic, but they basically follow a mechanic where it's like they roll a nat 20 in D&D, and they hit you regardless of basically what your defenses are. So yeah, so when I answered this question, I basically said the short answer is that you have an 8% chance per hit to activate. This should say Aegis, actually. Aegis. Yeah, you have an 8% chance to proc Aegis. Boop. Save. You have an 8% chance to proc Aegis per hit because Aegis in order to activate, requires you to be hit, which means dodges, parries, and misses from the boss are not going to activate your Aegis. Blocks will activate your Aegis because you're technically still taking a hit. However, the critical strike chance of a boss follows a completely different mechanic, where if the boss rolls a crit, it'll hit you regardless of what your defenses are if your defenses are below 106%. So it automatically hits, and the only way to prevent being crit in classic World of Warcraft is to have so much mitigation that you basically push it off the table. So the example I give here is that if you had a 100% dodge chance, a boss would still have a 6% chance to crit you. The reason for this is because you don't have 106% mitigation. So 6%, basically every time the boss rolls a crit, he acts like he's rolling a natural 20 in D&D, which means he automatically hits you regardless of what your dodge, block, or parry is, and then you take that crit. So if your mitigation is below 106%, your total mitigation is below 106%, every boss in the game basically has a 10% chance to crit you. So Aegis is going to activate your plus 30% block chance 8% of the time, every time you get hit, or more or less, depending upon what your parry, dodge, parry, and miss chance is. And then Aegis or Redout is over there just saying, yeah, I'll do this 10% of the time. So it more than doubles the uptime of how often you're going to have your plus 30% block value. Yeah. What else is there to say about this stupid thing? So the whole reason why it works this way, and I have no idea why it works this way, honestly, or we have to talk about how mitigation works in general. So you basically have to push the critical strike off of the dice roll table. And the reason why that happens, I don't know why exactly that happens at 106% precisely. It might be because they're like 3 levels above us or something stupid like that. I have no idea. But what I do know is that your total mitigation, to reach the 106% cap, it'll be your block value plus miss chance, plus dodge chance, plus parry chance. If all of that together is below 96%, or it's at 96% or below, you're doing absolutely nothing to stop yourself from being crit by that boss. That boss will still crit you. 10% of his auto attacks will be crits. By the time you get up to 106%, block, dodge, parry, miss total, then the next thing you know, you're never getting crit again. So you'll take, because blocks cannot be crits, if that makes any sense. So it's a very, very weird mechanics but behind the critical strike feature specifically. But just know that if you're not crit capped, it basically means that Redout is worth its weight in gold. Even when you're not crit cap, even if you're going for like a crit cap build, Redout is still worth its weight in gold because it's going to be almost impossible for you to have 100% uptime on 106% critical strike chance or critical strike damage avoidance, without Redout active, without Holy Shield active. It says 4 charges, roll my eyes. And without, without either Redout or Aegis active and Holy Shield active. Which means you're going to be living in a world where if Aegis hasn't procced, and if Aegis hasn't procced for you, your mitigation is going to fall below 106%, which means suddenly you're going to take a crit. But when you take a crit, Redout will automatically activate. She'll push you above the 106% threshold, and so for the next 10 seconds or so, it'll probably be impossible for you to be crit again, right? So she really also, even if you're trying a mitigation cap build, she's still going to be taken because she specifically makes it impossible for the boss to crit you back to back, which is when things get super deadly in classic World of Warcraft. Okay, so hopefully that answers the question. It's actually incredibly complicated, and I had no idea it was that complicated until I started talking to Teriak about it, and I was like, whoa, wait, what? These are the mechanics actually behind this stupid thing? So, yeah, that's why we take Redout over the stupid increase in the armor aura. It's actually kind of interesting just how it works. So anyways, I'm going to end the video here, and Data's Volt, boys.